Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're diving back into MENACE, the upcoming turn-based tactics game from the folks that brought us Battle Brothers. We played this a bit on the channel last year when the demo first released, but today we're not diving into the demo anymore, instead checking out an early build of the game before it releases next week. I am extremely excited to finally be showing this off in full on the channel because we can finally explore the strategic layer, all the extra decision making that happens outside of battles, so on and so forth, because the demo, which is still available to play, was limited to just those turn-based tactical battles and you couldn't see all these other moving parts. Now, I do want to mention before we begin that outside of this channel, I am affiliated with the publisher Hooded Horse, but that affiliation has no impact on what I do or say or cover on the channel. The reason I'm affiliated with them is because I love these kinds of games and it's what they publish, and come on, it's MENACE, it's the game from the guys that made Battle Brothers. Of course I was going to cover this on the channel either way, but I do still like to mention it for the sake of transparency, and if you want more information about that affiliation, you can check out the video linked in the description down below. With that out of the way, let's dive on in. Alright folks, as we dive in, I just want to mention quickly that there are probably timestamps down below that'll allow you to skip around the video to find certain aspects that you're more interested in, or to skip past aspects that you're not interested in. At times I will try and explain certain mechanics and systems, and maybe you don't want to hear about that, so that's when you're likely going to see a timestamp to allow you to skip past it or jump around if you're so inclined. With that said, let's go ahead and kick off our new game, just playing for the time being on normal difficulty. This will allow me to show you what the game looks and plays and feels like at the lowest available option, and what I'm thinking is, based on your thoughts and feelings as well, I'll keep an eye out in the comments, once the game actually launches next week, I might kick off a new playthrough and try playing on expert or challenging instead, just to see how that feels. But yes, for the time being, kicking off a new game just on normal difficulty. With that said, let's go ahead and get this party started. So even as I go to explain this screen briefly, I think it's a good idea for you guys to have a bit of background as to who we are, where we are, why we're here, and what we're trying to accomplish. Again, if you're not interested in any of that, timestamps down below. So, we've just arrived at the distant Wayback System, and the thing about the Wayback System is that for the last little while they've sort of been doing their own thing, and as representatives of the Terran Congressional Republic, we're not really big fans of them doing their own thing, and we're here to ask them to stop. And when I say representatives, I do in fact mean Marines. We're a military outfit. And the plan, at least initially, is to come here and to become friendly with the various factions of the Wayback, maybe do some favors for them, build some trust, and see if that gives us some political sway with which to accomplish our mission, but we'll see how that plays out. The first order of business, though, is to choose from these 8 Marine squad leaders to pick the 4 that we're going to start our campaign with. Once we're actually at the Wayback and playing the game, we'll be able to hire more squad leaders, but they're all going to be locals from the Wayback instead. And they're going to be a completely different selection from this bunch. They'll have their own unique perks, their own, perk trees, their own stats and attributes. They're completely different characters. And sometimes the friction between Marines and non-Marines plays into the various events that you'll come across at the strategic layer of the game. But for now, we just have to pick our 4 starting squad leaders. I'm not going to explain all of these characters. I'm not going to go into detail about every single one of them. That's maybe saved for a later video down the line if you're interested. But I will explain the decision-making process and who I'm choosing. I know exactly who it's going to be because I kind of have my favorites already, I guess. So, first things first, there's 2 kinds of squad leaders. Infantry squad leaders, represented by the little infantry icon, and pilots, represented by the little tank icon instead. Infantry squad leaders, of course, lead squads of infantry, whereas pilots drive mechs, APCs, tanks, things like that. And it's good to have a bit of balance. You want a bit of both, but you want to keep in mind the cost of deploying too many vehicles, the cost of acquiring vehicles, and things like that. So you don't really want to go in with like, oh yeah, I'll have 3 tanks on the battlefield. That's not really how it works. So we're going to have 3 infantry squad leaders and 1 pilot. When it comes to choosing the actual individuals, you obviously want to take a look at their stats and attributes, and I'll go over these very briefly because I think a lot of them are self-explanatory. And first things first, attributes and stats are actually tied together many times in sort of a 1-to-1 ratio, and in some cases in a sort of, if it's above 50, it gives a buff to a number here. If it's below 50, it gives a debuff to a number here. So I'm not going to go through all that in too much detail. Again, that'll be for a later video I'll release perhaps next week. But briefly, again, some of these are very self-explanatory. Action points are action points available per turn. Accuracy is accuracy. Discipline helps prevent suppression, keeps morale up, things like that. Damage reduction, hit points, crit chance, defense. I think these are, again, self-explanatory. But down here are some interesting stats. Promotion tax, growth potential, and supply cost. Anytime you're deploying units for a mission, you have to consider supply. And this is like a point buy system similar to if you've played Warhammer on tabletop, for example, where you have a limit to how many points you can spend to assemble the army that you'll bring to the battlefield. So each individual squad leader has a different supply cost that represents their overall statistic, qualities, let's call it. But each squad leader also has a different promotion tax. And promotion tax represents how much more expensive they get to deploy, how much higher that supply cost gets every time the squad leader is promoted. Promotions are optional, but they help you unlock additional perks for your squad leaders, so you'll pursue them often, and then as you pursue them, you'll make that squad leader that much more expensive to deploy. And then there's growth potential. Growth potential represents how quickly a squad leader will have their attributes and stats increase over time. These increase based on triggers on the battlefield. So based on your behaviors, based on your actions, based on your circumstances, you'll potentially see these attributes go up. It's a very slow crawl, that's the intent here, but someone with a higher growth potential will see those numbers go up faster than somebody with a lower growth potential. And the thing is that when you're looking at these characters, the 3-star ones might immediately seem like the most interesting and capable ones, but they'll also be the most expensive when it comes to supply cost, and at times, not always, they'll also be the ones with the lowest growth potential, whereas someone who's a 1-star, like Carta here, is going to have the highest growth potential and the lowest supply cost, and also very low promotion tax. So even though they start as a relatively weak character, with some negative modifiers and stuff like that as a 1-star character, they can grow quite quickly and become quite capable as well. So it's an interesting mixing and matching of a few different things to consider. With all that said, like I said, I know who my starting set are. I'll pick them out, and I'll explain my choices as those choices become relevant on the battlefield, so on and so forth, because otherwise we'll be on this screen for like an hour. So I got Darby, I got Rewa, I got Tech, and Lim. Sorry, I like their little barks, so I keep letting them interrupt me, but maybe I shouldn't. Anyway, these guys are a really nice set. I like how they work together. I like to kind of approach them all in certain ways and stuff like that. That's not to say that the others aren't also interesting in their own ways. They're also very capable and have interesting perks and stuff of their own, but this is the starting set that I want to play with, and maybe the next run we'll do with a different set. So briefly, Lim over here, he's got this aspiring unique perk. Everyone has a unique perk that's just for them. And this gives him a 30% discount to promotions. So every time I need to spend promotion points to upgrade him and get him a new perk from his perk tree, it's just a little bit cheaper and so easier to do. He also has this one perk that I particularly love called Mobile Infantry that makes it very cheap for him to enter and exit vehicles, which I'm going to be doing a lot of. There's a specific way I like using Lim, and you'll probably be seeing that today, hopefully. Then there's Darby. Darby's got high value targets, and this gives her the ability to disable enemy special weapons for one turn with just a regular attack, and that can be extremely valuable under certain circumstances. She's a good long-range fighter, very high accuracy, and a lot of perks over here that kind of help buff accuracy even further or decrease the value of enemy cover and things like that. So very big fan of Darby. Rewa is our pilot, and she comes in with Revel in Slaughter, plus 6% accuracy and discipline for each enemy unit destroyed. Stacks up to 5 times. I mean, that alone is super cool. And then we've got Tech. Tech's here with, I don't want to get demonetized, but a very, very wonderfully named perk. Most special weapons can be used without deploying, especially large weapons will still have to be deployed. The human body can only do so much. So when you're carrying things like, medium machine guns, some rocket launchers, things like that, every squad leader will typically have to deploy their squad, eating up some action points before they can actually use that weapon. But Tech here, thanks to his unique perk, doesn't actually have to deploy for every single one of those special weapons. A lot of them he does still have to, but for some of the critical ones, he doesn't. And he's also got some interesting perks over here, if I can recognize them off the top of my head. He's got one where he can, he can go crashing into enemy lines, stunning them for a turn. So he's got some cool extra perks and stuff as well. Either way, Lim, Darby, Rewa, and Tech, those are our starting 4 squad leaders. And with that, we'll finally arrive at the Wayback System. And here we are. So I should mention that the devs are working on a few things still that will add a bit more kind of flair and flash and narrative kind of structure, which is why I'm kind of doing some of the explaining and stuff right now, just based on the wiki and the lore that they've shared through dev diaries and things like that. But this is the Wayback System. Right now, it's got 3 planets that we can visit and work on. Each of those have different biomes, and each of them are represented by different factions that you can see over here. The factions all have their own backstories and things like that as well, their own representatives too. And the interesting thing is that as we gain trust with these individual factions, we'll gain access to various upgrades. And these can range from technology that causes earthquakes to, what do we got? Let's see, medevac, rocket runs to use as off-map support on the battlefield, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of options over here that we can unlock by increasing our trust with these guys and spending some resources to acquire those unlocks, and then installing them onto our ship, the TCRN Impetus. But we'll get into that when we get into it. First things first, let's go ahead and take a look at this introduction that, well, gets things rolling.
If he is all we have left, then he is all we have left. Bring him in. Major, I am First Lieutenant Hayflick, Lead Intelligence Officer for the Wayback mission. To be blunt, the Impetus suffered a straightening accident coming out of the gate. Survivors are in the minority. You, Major, are now the acting commander for the mission. A seltzer and easing tablet are on the table if you need it.
I was expecting a General Crozier, but your little secretary has already informed me you experienced a bit of a hiccup. Coming through the warp, the entire command staff killed, was it? Condolences. But as terrible as your losses might be, I wish to remind you that your residence here did not come cheap for me either. Your expense has been in lives, mine in political capital. About time you core welders almost made even on your trades. If I may give you one recommendation, TCR Marine, do try and make good with the neighborhood. But while you learn to dance with these factions and fools, be sure not to step on too many toes. We are not your beloved core worlds. There are only so many mistakes one can make in a system, absent of second chances. But, you know, welcome to the Wayback. End of line.
Apologies, Major. The comms team is new and was unaware of alert procedures before patching someone through. However, that was indeed Field Marshal Zama, leader of the planetary Jingwei. We are not to interfere with their operations. More on the relationship between the core worlds and the Wayback can be found in the Impedia. For now, let's get you acquainted with the strategic map.
All right, so hopefully that explains why our ship's on fire. We had a bit of an incident as we arrived through the jump gate into the Wayback System, and that's why we've taken a fair bit of damage, and we can repair that over time by installing various upgrades and things like that. But yes, that gives you some context as to what's going on. Now, there's a lot we can do. I can go over the various screens of the strategic layer, show you, the squad screen. That'll be somewhat familiar if you played the demo or watched the channel as I was covering the demo. We've got access to the black market now, where we can barter equipment, loot, things like that, for other equipment, loot, things like that. We can also acquire additional Squaddies, which I'll explain in just a moment because that is important. And we can acquire dossier, that word always throws me off, for pilots and for squad leaders. They are limited in number, they take time to arrive at the black market, and they're decently expensive to purchase, but without purchasing these, we will not have access to any squad leaders to actually hire. So the process of acquiring additional squad leaders is quite involved and quite expensive, so you have to be quite careful about the initial squad leaders you choose and how you treat them on the battlefield, because once you're on the back foot, you can stay on the back foot for quite some time. We're not going to be acquiring any of these right now. We're not going to be hiring any additional squad leaders for the time being, but I wanted to give you a brief rundown of some of the stuff that you wouldn't have seen before if you, well, you wouldn't have seen before, I guess, if you weren't following the dev diaries, because first time we're actually able to showcase some of this stuff. With that said, I think we should just go ahead and dive into the first operation of our playthrough. The thing about missions and battles in Menace is that they're not individual battles, you're one and done, in and out. Instead, they're operations. Each of these operations is being assigned by one of these factions, and as you dive into an operation, you'll see that it has multiple missions that need to be completed to successfully complete the operation. You get rewards at a mission level, you get rewards at an operational level, and if you fail a single mission in an operation, you fail the whole operation, but you have to win every single mission, every single battle within the operation to win the operation. It'll make sense as we get into it. Typically, I think it's probably a good idea to start with pirates as the enemy, as your target of initial operations, because we have aliens and we have pirates as the initial set of factions we're fighting up against. And when you fight pirates, you can acquire a lot of valuable loot from the battlefield. Whether you decide to use it for your own people or you decide to sell it, it can be valuable in a few different ways. So I think I'm gonna stick with that logic, and we're gonna go ahead to the backbone to take on this operation called counterinsurgency. An aggressive warband of pirates made an unexpected planetfall and have spread over a concerningly large area. Local forces have been outmatched by the pirates' audacious tactics. The TCR needs to insert, secure the area, and ultimately find and destroy the pirates' base of operations. Fair enough. This will give us increased trust with the backbone, and as I described earlier, that'll give us access to certain upgrades in due time. It's not like it's instant, obviously. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive into this operation. Now, every operation is procedurally generated. These pathways, these branching paths and stuff will be different for every operation. The actual missions that a operation comprises of will be different as well, but they are controlled by who the enemy is. So, if you're fighting pirates, you're not going to have a destroy the breeding pools mission. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. So there's some controls over what the pools of missions are and what the mission types are, but the whole operation itself is procedurally generated, and of course, each of the missions within an operation are also procedurally generated. The maps are procedurally generated, they're on different biomes, there's weather conditions to concern yourself with, so on and so forth. Now, this particular operation just has one starting point. Often you'll have multiple starting points, but this time around we just have one. And again, if you played the demo, you'll have seen some of this in action, but with a much smaller mission pool. So what do we got over here? Stop extortion. Pirates have been extorting a local settlement for a while now. Something must have gone wrong, as intense gunfire has been picked up by our sensors from the location. Head there ASAP and stop whatever the pirates are doing there. Time is of the essence, so better bring some fast transports. Our primary objective here is to save civilians by destroying 80% of all attacking enemies, and these are all of our secondary objectives. The more of these we can accomplish, obviously, the better the outcome, and I'll explain that in a moment. Hopefully we'll get all of these in this mission, but it can be quite challenging depending on how people are positioned. Some of these civvies might die. Complete the mission with less than 3 structures destroyed. Complete the mission without losing a squad or vehicle. Hopefully both of those are easy to accomplish. And yes, each secondary objective is tracked individually, of course. Every mission has its own difficulty rating from 1 to, I believe, 3 skulls is the full range. And missions also have a supply limit. And I'll explain that more in just a moment, but supply limits for individual missions increase through a few different means. 1 is upgrades that you can acquire, and 2 is time. As you advance the game, you'll have access to more and more supply per mission. So again, we've only got this one option over here. It gives us this reward. So normally you'd pick and choose depending on which reward you want more of. But here we just have the one, which gives us a civilian trading post. Upon completion, +5 trust with local faction and +1 civilian trading good. Cool. That's pretty good, actually. Next step is to actually plan the mission. So here, depending on how much intelligence we have based on our intelligence level, which is something we can upgrade for the TCR and Impetus, we'll have access to more or less information. With enough intelligence, we'd be able to tell exactly who these individual pips are, which ones are civilians, which ones are enemies, and with even more intelligence, we'd be able to see the class of those individual units, what kind of equipment they might be carrying, and that allows you to plan how you deploy your squad, how you place individuals, how you arm your squads as well. Like, you're not going to carry an RPG when there aren't any enemy vehicles to take out, for example, or maybe you will, maybe that's what you like doing. But it gives you the information to plan around. We have intelligence level 0, very little information to plan around, and so we just have a general sense of what the map might look like and where people are roughly located. With that little information, we're going to go ahead and adjust our squads. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and make sure everyone has the maximum number of squaddies available to them. Squaddies are the individual entities within a unit, within a squad, and the way it works is each of these individual squaddies plus the squad leader make the total composition of the squad. So right now I've got +8 over here. That's Lim plus 8 more for a total of 9 individuals. What that means is anytime I tell this squad to shoot their primary weapon over here, that's 9 people shooting that gun. So you can tell a very one-to-one relationship of the size of a squad and its general output, let's call it. However, as a squad has more squaddies, it also becomes more expensive to deploy. You'll see down over here our supply cost, our maximum, and what we've used up until now, and you can see how significantly that changes based on how many squaddies we have. And this is based on the individual equipment that each squad member is carrying. So, for example, if I bring this right down to 1, you'll see this carbine costs, I guess it would be 7 supply because it's Lim and 1 squaddie carrying it. Can I bring this down to 0 to show you? Yeah. So it's 7 when just Lim is carrying it, but we cannot deploy a infantry squad with just the squad leader. And as I crank this up, you'll see that number increase by 7 for each squaddie that's carrying it. So the cost benefit obviously balances out. Each weapon has its own stats to concern yourself with as well, including this fall-off chart that's at the bottom of this pop-up, which I find particularly interesting. Every weapon might have a certain range, but there's a certain spot in that range that is optimal for its use. For the time being, we don't have much equipment whatsoever. Fatigues, these carbines, no secondary weapons or anything, so that's what we've got. So let's make sure we add everyone here to the mission, make sure everyone's all maxed out in terms of their squads, and then we have Riwa over here, who is our pilot. And so no individual squads here, just the one vehicle, in this case a light troop carrier. We do not have a heavy weapon option, or heavy hard point option, maybe let's call it, but we do have a light option, and that's this medium machine gun. Let's get that placed. Obviously everything here as well has a supply cost associated with it, on top of the supply cost of the squad leader themselves, giving us a decent total underneath the max. I could, in theory, actually, why don't we get ourselves some additional accessories? Magazine pouches increase the squad weapon uses by 50%. What does that mean? You see these little pips down over here? That means that the squad can only use this weapon that many times. I can only shoot this weapon that many times, and then I'm out of ammo. This has happened to me on multiple occasions, and I've learned that it's a good idea to carry some extra ammo. Always a good idea to carry some extra ammo. I can't believe I almost forgot to do that, because if you're out of ammo, you're out of luck. You can't. There's nothing you can do. You're not gonna, pistol whip individuals riding at you with a chain gun or something. But yes, everyone's been added to the mission. Everyone's kitted out. We're all good to go. Let's just go ahead and position them and hope for the best over here. I'm going to pair Riwa and Lim off to the side here. Take them as far forward as possible, as quickly as possible. And I'm going to go ahead and get Tech and Darby up over here. I'm hoping these are civvies. They might be bad guys, and hopefully these guys are close enough to coordinate if so. One thing to note about Darby is that her vision range is a 9. Fairly standard, but with proper perks that can be increased, and you can increase her ability to detect enemy units as well. So she, like I said earlier, I think can be quite a good scout, and I intend to use her like that to build good habits right from the beginning. Anyway, enough explaining. Let's dive on in.
All right, who's gonna catch these hands?
I love watching this thing fly off. It's such a cool visual. It's just such a nice touch. Anyway, let's see what we've got ahead of us. First things first, let's go ahead and send Darby up. And typically, it's not a good idea to go, maximum move distance all at once, because you can get easily ambushed, but this feels like a fairly safe area, and so I wasn't too worried about doing that. Another thing to keep in mind is that turns work very differently in Menace. You don't just move all your people all at once. It's not initiative based or anything like that. Basically, every faction goes in order. I go first, then neutral factions go, and then enemy factions go after that. But every faction only moves one unit at a time, or I guess only uses one unit at a time before passing on to the next faction, and then going back to the beginning over and over and over again until a round finishes. So, you know, I decided to move Darby first, and then the civilians moved, and the pirates moved, and now it's my choice to move anybody I want. I can move Tech, I can move Lim, I can move Rewa, whatever I want to do. I cannot, however, move Darby because she's already moved this turn. So that's how you kind of have to organize yourself, or this round, I should say. And then when the new round begins, I can once again move everybody in any order I want. I'm not married to the order I used the first time or anything like that. So I can move somebody last this round, but first next round, and kind of use that to my advantage as well. But let's go ahead and pop Lim into the vehicle over here. And just end your turn there. And Rewa, sure, I mean, I'm going to probably send you all the way up. Keeping an eye on my action point usage as well, and the cost of, obviously, each individual action. So, for example, okay, I can move up to here, and if needed, I'll still be able to shoot my gun, and I don't think it will be needed, fair enough, so I can move a little bit further up. And generally, you want to be quite cautious in combat when it comes to Menace. It can get quite brutal quite quickly. And hopefully you won't see that in action. It has been rebalanced quite a bit since the demo, so if you played the demo, or if you watched me play the demo, it's been adjusted a fair bit since then. So hopefully we'll be doing okay. But again, like I said, down the line I might decide to start a new run on, you know, extreme difficulty or something, and see how that plays and feels instead. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments. And I should mention as well, folks, if you're looking forward to seeing Menace on the channel, if you'd like to see more of it, please don't hesitate to let me know. Leave a comment down below, maybe hit that like button as well. Just helps me make decisions on the channel. And on the topic of decisions, one that I'm thinking of making is something that's been recommended to me quite a bit last year, which was to maybe do shorter episodes. I used to do 1-hour videos for Let's Plays, but it's been recommended to me that maybe I consider doing like 30 or 40-minute videos instead, depending on where things are in an episode at any given time. And maybe we'll try that. Maybe we'll try that. So this video will probably end up being a 30 or 40-minute episode. A little less action on this one, I know, because, you know, I spent some time explaining the intro and stuff like that. But we'll pick up the pace with the next video onwards. Next one releasing probably tomorrow, and see how that 30 minutes feels. And again, as always with this channel, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback on it, because that's how I make a lot of my decisions, based on what people are feeling, not feeling, and what I can sustainably do, of course, is a big factor as well. And what I enjoy doing, obviously, is a big factor as well. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below as we continue to creep on up. Might as well take you all the way. Still nothing, eh? Okay, interesting. So, guarantee that the pips we saw in this general area of the map were civilians, so that's good to know at least. And there we go, of course. Spotted our first enemy. They've already moved, it looks like, so I'm not too worried, and it looks like they're going to step out of the vehicle and try to take me on. That's not a vehicle that can attack of its own. It's not like got an attachment or anything, but it is carrying a couple of pirate scavengers, it looks like. Now, I could destroy that truck and cause a lot of damage. I could open fire on it and potentially suppress the individuals inside it before they even had a chance to leave the vehicle, but that's all wishful thinking. I'm going to keep Rewa and Lim pushing forward this way, because my hope is that I can split the party and move just that much faster. I'm hoping to accomplish all these secondary objectives, and that's more likely if I keep these guys moving separately. They're going to open fire and do a touch of damage. So we've lost a bit of armor there. That's that top gray bar, but lost no health there. Lim, fortunately, seems unaffected after having been under fire, and we can actually pop him out and return fire and start dealing with these guys. We are technically... Well, now we're not outnumbered. Once Rewa can open fire, we'll be fine. Hopefully these guys are in range. I'm gonna pop out over here. They're obviously in cover over there, which is not ideal. But if we try to hit them... Medium accuracy is not that bad. You can see it's influenced by a few different factors here. It says target in cover with a giant negative sign. So maybe what we'll try and do is counter that by deploying. Deploying allows us to increase our defenses. It allows us to increase our accuracy, so on and so forth. And it only costs 20 action points. That'll give us enough to let a shot off at least once with this carbine. So let's go ahead and deploy. And now if I go to shoot, you'll see that medium accuracy has become good accuracy, and you can see the plus from unit is deployed. That's us being deployed. Target being deployed is a negative, but us being deployed is a positive. Over here you can see deployment versus cover and things like that. That's a flamethrower team, I just realized. So we've got outcasts equipped with rags, a pipe gun, scrap bombs, and bundle grenades. And then over here we've got the flamethrower team, obviously equipped with a flamethrower as well as other weapons. Let's try and open shots at these guys instead. Nice. Beautiful. Alright, when it's our turn again, I'll explain a bit of what happened there. We took just a touch of health damage there, so nothing too bad. These guys are going to move forward. And don't worry about those shots coming off from that one unit that just hit Riwa's vehicle. That's just a part of making the battlefield feel a bit more dynamic. Those shots don't actually cause damage or anything, but they give like the audio-visual feel of being on a battlefield. You know, on a real battlefield, you don't take turns popping shots. You keep shooting, you keep trying to suppress the enemy, so on and so forth. No, don't hide. I need to explain you. Oh. Oh, looks like they broke, actually. You could see that individual flee. So what happened there was, well, I'll use these guys as an example. You can see the health bar, which is the one all the way at the bottom, is divided into multiple little segments. Each of these segments represents an individual squaddie in the unit, and our own units have that same kind of division with green. Is it not super... Ah, you know what? Maybe it was an illusion, or I'm just blind right now. Nonetheless, our Squaddies' health bars work in a similar way, where each individual Squaddie has certain HP, and when you cross those thresholds, individuals die. And if an individual dies, that means they're no longer, for example, shooting their gun, which means your damage output is reduced, so on and so forth, right? Because of that relationship between Squaddies and the equipment they're carrying, like I described earlier. So what happened with these guys is I did enough HP damage to eliminate multiple squad members. That's why there's 2 dead bodies over here. But apart from physical damage, we're also doing morale damage. Up over here is the yellow bar, and this yellow bar represents suppression level. And I guess I shouldn't have called it morale damage. They're a little different. So suppression level first. As this bar fills up, a unit will go from being unaffected to suppressed to pinned down. And this is huge. A suppressed unit is extremely ineffective. Their action points are brought right down. Their accuracy is brought down. They're going to perform a lot worse. So even if you can't kill a unit, you might just want to suppress them to reduce their performance. And the thing is, you don't have to kill individuals or even cause damage to cause suppression. In fact, certain weapons are specifically for causing suppression. If we hover over here, you can see hit point damage on this weapon versus suppression damage on this weapon are 2 different values. So some weapons will suppress a unit without causing too much damage, and others work, you know, the other way around. But suppression is hugely effective, and if a unit is pinned down, they basically can't act. I mean, it's pinning a unit down is hugely beneficial. And then there's also morale. The thing is, with our first attack, we triggered all of these systems, and so I'm now explaining all of them as opposed to staggering it, so I apologize for the pause here. But then there's morale, like I was saying. Basically, when individuals die, when allies flee, when objectives are accomplished by the other party, things like that, anything that you can imagine would hurt your morale on the battlefield impacts morale. And when morale crosses a certain threshold, units start to waver. A wavering unit always has to go last in their turn. You know how I was explaining I can go in any order? If one of these guys start wavering, they have to go last. Same thing applies for the enemy. They have to go last. Beyond wavering is fleeing. Now, my guys, if they're fleeing, they'll run away from the enemy, but then they'll recover. They'll come back into the fight every single time, because these are hardened squad leaders. With the enemy, if they're fleeing, they'll also run away, and chances are they'll recover. But if I've done enough damage to that unit, they'll just break. They'll leave. And that's exactly what we saw happen there. I cannot believe that our first attack in this run just triggered all of those mechanics all at once. To be so lucky. All right. So what are we up against over here? So again, I can choose to move anybody, right? And I've got some thinking to do. Do I want to pop shots at these guys who... you know, what are they going to do? They're going to cause maybe some damage over here if they can get through our cover, or they'll maybe ping away at our armor on the vehicle. So maybe I'm not too worried about this situation. Maybe I'm more worried about these guys driving up and jumping out of cover. Let's see, Darby. They probably can't get to us. If I press R, I can actually see movement ranges. So you can see these guys, they can drive quite far out, hop out. You know what? I'll take the chance and I'll focus over here instead. Let's see. So Rewa, if you open fire with your machine gun, low accuracy, full armor pen, medium suppression. Low accuracy, full armor pen, good suppression. Okay, so we could potentially suppress these guys. Or Lim, if you open fire, good accuracy. Oh, let's go with Lim. Nice. All right, we could just pin them down. And again, we pin them down because we have just marginally crossed that last threshold on that yellow bar. Now, in theory, I could leave them be right now because they're going to be so ineffective in combat. I could just leave them be. In most turn-based tactics games, I would say the right move is to eliminate a unit, to remove them from the board, prevent them from causing damage back to you, so on and so forth. But here, because they're suppressed, I'm in cover, I'm deployed. The chance of them actually causing damage is so low that I might turn my attention to these guys instead and see if I can't suppress them as well. Now that I've said that, these guys, watch, are going to kill like 5 of my squaddies here, and it is permadeath, so I will lose them permanently, and squaddies are a limited resource, which is why I was saying earlier, from the black market, you'll sometimes want to have a recruitment drive to replace lost squaddies. But I'll take that chance, and we'll pop shots up over here. Low accuracy, I'm not expecting too much, but if I'm lucky, I'm not. I almost suppressed them. Just shy of it, but I'll take it. It'll be easier to suppress with somebody else. Let's go ahead and end Lim's turn. They're going to return fire. Again, we're in cover, so not taking too much damage or anything. Oh, you know what? Yeah, you can see. Yeah. Okay, it's very faint, but you can see the individual segments. They are there. Hopefully you can see them now. I was like, I'm so sure. All right, so these guys have done their turn. Maybe they're not as much of a priority anymore, but Rewa is here anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some shots up over here. Got them suppressed. Got them pinned, maybe even? Nah, no such luck. Just shy of it. I should mention suppression, pinning, that yellow bar, empties every turn. So you don't stay suppressed permanently, obviously, unless someone keeps suppressing you, like I'm about to do with these guys. Hopefully even killing another individual. They're gonna go from pinned to suppressed next turn, I believe. Rewa, you can... Let's go ahead and turn the vehicle so that we can move a bit more smoothly next turn and get Lim in maybe up over here. End your turn there. Turning straight versus, or sorry, moving straight versus moving at a diagonal all cost different amounts of action points and things like that, obviously, so various things to consider. And now that we've only got these two to move, I'm going to go ahead and get tech up to here. So you'll have a bit of cover. I'm going to go ahead and deploy just to increase accuracy and stuff like that, because either way we'd only get a single shot off anyway because it costs 40 action points. I'm going to go ahead and fire at this vehicle, not to destroy the vehicle, but to potentially suppress the people that are inside the vehicle. And if I'm really lucky, I might even kill one of them. They've got RPGs and stuff. Okay, so hopefully I'll kill one of them. Yeah, I didn't expect it. But it does sound like I managed to suppress the unit, so there's that. They're going to hop out. No clue where they went afterwards, but Darby, let's go ahead and send you all the way up to here, and if you can spot them, you can shoot them. There's these guys if we can't spot the other unit. Nah, just out of my viewing angles there, that's fine. Kind of expected as much. Who do we hit? These outcasts, good accuracy. I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense to hit these outcasts then. Oh, almost wiped that unit out. It looks like another unit of flamethrowers, potentially. Another infantry squad back there. Alright, so these guys are both wavering now, it looks like, so they'll move last. Gives me a bit of freedom, gives me a bit of, you know, open-endedness as far as my tactical choices are concerned. Tech is really kind of out of position just because of my sheer luck, eh? Let's start with Darby. Get you up to here, just to get visibility on these guys. They were suppressed, that's why the bar is a little full. Let's go ahead and deploy. And even though that reduces the number of times we can shoot with Darby, I think that's okay, because it feels like this is where a lot of the bloodbath is going to take place, and so it's probably worth getting this set up. Go ahead and fire up here. I don't want that flamethrower getting too close to us. That just scares the crap out of me, I'll be honest. Come on. Ah, that's my luck. Okay, that's okay. And Darby's turn there. Again, the cover and stuff. Ooh, helping out. Inaccurate RPG shot there, helping out as well. But let's go ahead with Renu now. Keep these guys... Oh, it feels like such a waste to open up a whole salvo when they have so little health. What I'm going to try and do instead is fire at these guys, and hopefully they'll break, and it'll cause these guys to break as well. Nice fleeing. Like I said, morale is impacted by seeing your homies die, and that's exactly what happened there. So that worked out exactly as I'd hoped. We're too far to hit anybody else, but we can maybe creep forward. No, we can't. Oh, we can't go through here. There's a vehicle. Oh, I rotated the wrong way. I can't believe I let that happen. I was too eager. I thought I was being clever. We're gonna have to go around the long way. That's fine. We'll be okay. We'll be able to move a little bit. Yeah. That's fine. Little suboptimal, but it is what it is. Lim will move next. Lim will probably just creep forward if need be, sorry. Yeah, can't hit anybody. Gotta undeploy because you can't move when you're deployed. I get up to here. I won't be able to open fire at anybody, but I'll be in cover at least. I don't love that, but we gotta move up. Could come up to here instead. And open fire. Nah. Line of sight's blocked. Okay. Up to here we go. Take a chance. And a big chance too. Again, one salvo, as you saw, can have a huge impact. Alright, we're good. Tech. You can actually fire from where you are. Medium accuracy. That's okay. That's okay. Again, we could in theory get a little bit closer to get to a better spot in that chart that's at the bottom of this tooltip. But I think we're fine where we are. On fire. That was terrible. That was terrible. Okay, at least they're suppressed now. Killed a couple of individuals as well. But it ended up being okay between the two salvos. And your turn. Man, there's a lot of them. But we only have to kill 6. We've already killed 2 units. We only have to kill 4 more. Alright. Lim, let's deploy you first. So we're going to move Lim first here because he was a little exposed. Now let's open fire. Can't hit these guys. No line of sight, but we can hit these guys. Nice, got them wavering, got them suppressed. Can I hit these guys? Low accuracy. Probably not worth it. Let's hit these guys. Get them to flee. Beautiful. Again, Tech was also in cover, so and deployed, so I felt pretty safe about his position there. Darby. Go ahead and hit these guys, please. Nice. Specialist disabled. Again, Darby's unique perk, right? And let's continue opening fire up over here. See if we can get these guys to waver. There it is. Beautiful. So looks like we're already at the bottom of the round then. Pulling back a bit. Riwa, let's go ahead and maybe go around the long way. Tech's up. Open fire over here. Ah, there we go. It's working pretty well, actually. Better than I expected. Keep at it. No kills that time. Now, what's interesting is that when you suppress an enemy unit, they actually go down on a knee. They deploy. And so a unit that's standing, that you've managed to suppress, actually becomes a little bit harder to hit after you've suppressed them. That's a nice little touch, I think. Is that a chain gun team? That's a chain gun team. That's scary. Okay, we're up. Looks like these guys have recovered. Because they were fleeing, but they were also pinned, so they stayed on the ground as opposed to actually running away. Let's see if I can convince them to leave by opening fire at these guys and getting them to break. There you go. Both these guys are fleeing now. Good job indeed. And I might as well shoot back over here. Now, I am able to shoot at any tile that's in range. And the thing about suppression is that if you hit an adjacent tile, the unit next to that tile will suffer some suppression damage. So I could, you know, cheekily like hit here instead if I'm still convinced that the enemy's over here. Also, if I had a giant question mark in my firing ranges, I could shoot at that question mark and hope to score a kill. There's actual ballistics being like measured and calculated with each individual round. Oh, nice. All right, Lim, that's your turn. The civilians just walking right up to these guys. Are you going to abandon ship? Come on, give up, buddy. they might still stick around. But Riwa is giving chase, potentially? Yeah, I think so. Riwa, let's get you up to here, so you might still shoot if there is anybody to shoot at. Not that we can see. Okay. Let's creep up to there. Oh, another load of them. Okay, just gotta kill 2 more enemy units. No luck there. I could have probably crept forward that time, rather than just open fire from this distance. In fact, let's go ahead and undeploy. Let's stand up and try and pull that off. Darby, let's creep you up, I think. To there. Just to try and get visibility on some more enemy units. And finish them off, ideally. Open fire. Nice.
Yes, I like how you work.
Just gotta finish one more off. Now, how do I start? Riwa, let's pull you up, because we know there's an enemy unit somewhere here. Damn it. It's probably down over here, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Cool. I'll just get the one set of shots off. Low accuracy. Could I get to a better position? Marginally. And open fire. Medium accuracy. I'll take it. Nice. Again, this is a very capable weapon when it comes to suppressing, but I knew I wouldn't be able to finish them off. And I was hoping to accomplish the mission right then and there. Darby. Open fire. Medium accuracy. Let's go for it. There we go.
Major, I
Mission
just
accomplished.
wanted to say, this mission is very lucky to have you.
Nice.
That's okay.
Not too challenging, not too scary. There was a couple scary units on there that, you know, if they'd gotten closer, we'd be in trouble, but we were able to get into good positions, open fire, work well as a unit all together, and provides, you know, supporting fire, suppressing fire, and things like that, and keep everybody pretty effective. Really love this team, really love this setup. Now, I do have the option of continuing. I can keep fighting if I want to get more kills, if I want to trigger more of those opportunities of increasing my, you know, attributes and stats and stuff like that. So I have the option to do so, but I won't. We've accomplished the mission. We've actually managed to get all of our secondary objectives. I'm genuinely surprised that worked out. So we're going to go ahead and leave the mission. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I want to highlight or talk about or impress upon you with this this moment that we have over here alone with our squad, and I think not. So yeah, we'll call it there. Received a bit of extra trust with the backbone as part of this mission's you know, special asset, strategic asset, sorry, that we got. And there's that one bit of civilian supplies that we got. I might have mentioned this right at the beginning, but if I didn't, just as a heads up, this is an early build of the game, so expect some placeholder assets, some you know, work in progress visuals, like I mentioned earlier as well. Like the devs are working on various sprucing up various elements and things like that. So just as a reminder, as you gaze upon this UI element. But we'll go ahead and accept that, of course. And here you can see, as a result of having completed all of our objectives, we get plus 15 promotion points. Mission success gives us 15 promotion points as well, and I believe, if I recall correctly, again, I'm trying to remember the demo versus now, difficulty can bolster promotion points as well. Nonetheless, we got 30 promotion points, which we can now spend to promote our various squad leaders, and we got this civilian trading post that we saw when we were, you know, picking, in theory, mission. But, like I mentioned, we've also got loot here. We've got a scavenger suit, we've got a pirate assault rifle, we've got 2 pirate pipe guns, and we've got a scrap bomb. Some of these weapons aren't all that great, but they're worth something to barter with, and maybe one of them is better than something else. Sometimes you'll get a whole chain gun or an RPG launcher, so the loot can be amazing. I think we might actually use a scavenger suit, but let's go ahead and move on to the next screen here, where we get a bit of a summary of how everyone performed, how much damage they might have received, very little actually, how many kills they accumulated, and had we lost any individual squaddies, they'd be listed down over here as well, how many we lost, and if we managed to save any of them. Obviously a 23-minute mission, I probably could have done that a lot more quickly, but I was trying to explain a lot of mechanics and stuff as well. We'll pick the pace up, obviously, with the next one. Sometimes, I'll mention quickly, based on performance, you'll get temporary status effects as well. I say temporary, they're like semi-permanent. They last multiple missions, and they can be both positive and negative. So depending on how well you performed or how poorly things went, you could have certain buffs or debuffs going into the next missions. Not just for the current operation, some will last longer than just one operation. But let's quickly go ahead and take a look at our squads screen here, where, by the way, you can more clearly see the visual impact of adding and removing squaddies. You can also see all of their names and stuff like that. And yes, you can actually go in and rename these squaddies as well. And you can track how many missions they've been on. There's a obituary segment down here as well to track which ones die. And up over here, I meant to mention this earlier, but slipped my mind, is actually our squaddie count. So as we lose squaddies and we add more into the individual squads, this number will go down, which is why at the black market we might want to have a recruitment effort to add, for example, 5 squaddies to the manpower pool, which is this is the manpower pool. Or over here, we could get the WOO, Wayback Outreach Office, or the XWOO, Expanded Wayback Outreach Office, to increase our per completed mission manpower increase and make this number a bit more sustained, I guess, because these guys will drop like flies as the missions get harder and harder. But obviously doing these upgrades have a cost. They cost OCI components, which you acquire by completing full operations, which is what I'll obviously be looking to do here in due time. If I take a look at these squaddies, I can see now this flashing color down over here tells me that I have enough promotion points to give them a promotion. A good first promotion, I think, would be new tricks. Everyone has access to new tricks. It increases their growth potential, which means their attributes will go up faster, like I was explaining earlier. But I think what I'm actually probably going to do is give Lim just something to chase after mobile infantry that allows him to get in and out of vehicles more quickly. But more on that in a moment. What I want to look at first is the fatigues versus the scav suit. So you can see the scavenger suit has more armor than the fatigues, unsurprisingly, has a higher armor durability, and has more accessory slots as well. So I'm going to go ahead and actually give Lim the scavenger suit. You'll see that the unit actually wears the armor you've assigned them. And the reason why I'm doing that is because in theory, Lim is going to be in a vehicle, but when he's outside of that vehicle, he's going to be closest to the enemy. Eventually, in fact, I would like to give him a shotgun, which is available. Oh my goodness, hard to say no to. But first, okay, let's take a look at the value of some of these guns, right? We've got the Pirate Assault Rifle, which has slightly better suppression, higher rate of fire, but otherwise is overall the same as or worse than the carbine that I'm currently using. So I might not care for the assault rifle, and the pipe gun, better armor damage, significantly better armor damage, so good for that, but lower armor penetration. Worse rate of fire. I might not care for either of these, to be honest. Yeah, so here. The value of having done that mission is we can go to the black market, I can get rid of this junk, and I can also get rid of this weapon, and we're going to be overpaying slightly, unfortunately. Yeah, just a little bit to get ourselves a shotgun. High accuracy modifier, very short range, but extremely accurate within that short range, and it causes a significant bit of damage, and it's wonderful to see in action. So I'm convinced I want to do this. Let's go ahead and make this trade. And before I forget to actually implement the benefit of that trade, I'm going to go ahead and give you this shotgun. Again, slight difference in cost. The shotgun is 18 supply more expensive, and so that'll have an impact when we go to deploy to the next mission, because we might have to make some adjustments, maybe reduce the squaddie count or something like that. I think we'll actually be fine based on how the math works out, but in theory, I might need to make adjustments. Let's go ahead and also give you the scrap bomb. That's a close range piece of equipment. You've got the shotgun, the scrap bomb, a vehicle driving you up close to the enemy, and more armor as time goes on. And that's the Lim I like. And there's different ways to spec these guys out. That is by no means the optimal or the only way to spec Lim out. There's some crazy theories out there from the demo already. Many will need adapting to the new specs and stats and stuff like that, and all the new equipment available too, but that's the Lim I like. Back to mission selection, we've got 3 options next. Take out the bomb maker, clear IEDs, search weapon caches. We got 2 skull, 1 skull, and 3 skull, so it's all a matter of what we are, feeling up for in terms of difficulty. If we'd lost a lot of squaddies or lost a squad leader, and they were completely dead, like permadeath, or they were down for the count, I might go with an easier mission, but maybe I'll go for these search weapon caches here. But the difficulty is not the only thing that's worth considering, obviously. We have to consider if it's a kind of mission that I feel like I can take on right now, and we also have to consider the rewards. So, search weapon caches gives us Bossman Den Plus. Upon completion, gain a random pirate faction item. That could be very valuable early on, because we could trade it out in the black market or use it ourselves. Here IEDs would give us, upon completion, gain anti-tank mine. Oh. Okay, interesting. And then take out bomb maker would give us, upon completion, gain 1 random explosive item. Could be great, could be just another scrap bomb. So some interesting choices that I think I'll make tomorrow, because folks, we're at that 50-minute mark. I said I was going to explore 30-40-minute episodes. Obviously this one went a little bit slower than they will typically go, because I wanted to explain a lot of things that you're looking at for the first time, or that we're looking at collectively for the first time. You might have seen them somewhere else in the dev diary or a different video out there, obviously. But yeah, so I hope you don't mind the slight slowness of this first episode, but the future ones will pick up the pace. And let me know what you think about that 30 to 40-minute length instead of the hour-longs that I did all the time last year. I'm curious to experiment with that, and I'm curious to experiment more with Menace as well. I hope you all enjoyed this session today. I hope you learned a bit more about the game, and I hope you're looking forward to more. If you are, you know what to do. Let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. As always, makes a big difference in just letting me know what you're interested in, letting me know what I should do more or less of, and how I should go about doing it. With that said, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.